Although pneumonia, anemia, and drug intoxication were cited as the cause of Brittany Murphy's death in December 2009, the true cause of her death is more nuanced. Even though Brittany Murphy's unexpected death inside her Los Angeles home in December 2009 was first attributed to a terrible turn of events, many people suspected foul play because of the shock of her passing. The rising star had found fame as the innocent ingenue in the 1995 hit film Clueless, and that role catapulted her into other cult classics like Girl, Interrupted, Riding in Cars with Boys, and Uptown Girl. Murphy was a mix of endearing and edgy, and many Hollywood insiders predicted her inevitable superstardom. But on December 20, 2009, just before Christmas, Brittany Murphy was discovered dead in the toilet of her Hollywood Hills residence rather than making it to the A-list. Although no illicit drugs were discovered in Brittany Murphy's blood, the original post-mortem report identified multiple drug intoxication, pneumonia, and iron deficiency anemia as the cause of her death. And then, in the same mansion, her husband Simon Monjack passed away in hauntingly similar circumstances only 5 months later. Ever since, disturbing theories about how Brittany Murphy died have emerged. On November 10, 1977, Brittany Murphy was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Her mother moved her to Edison, New Jersey when she was 2 years old after her parents were divorced, and she stayed there until she was a teenager. Murphy was a lively child who enjoyed dancing and singing. At the tender age of 9, she landed her first acting part in the school production of the musical Really Rosie. Under her mother's direction, she packed her things and moved to Hollywood when she turned 13. They were adorable together, said Joanne Kalana, Murphy's longtime agent. They finished each other's sentences. Both were bright and bubbly, and that relationship never changed. By the 1990s, Brittany Murphy began securing supporting roles on TV and film, and in 1995, she hit it big with her role in the hit film Clueless as Ty Fraser. Though this was only her second ever film role, Clueless launched her career. Murphy's doe eyes, edgy charm, and earnest laugh made her popular in the early 2000s with roles in films like Little Black Book and 8 Mile, where she infamously played rapper Marshall Eminem Mathers' love interest. Her timing was impeccable, said director Penny Marshall, who worked with the actress on 2001's Riding in Cars with Boys. She could be funny. She could be dramatic. She was a terrific actress. But by the end of 2009, Brittany Murphy's career had deflated. She was dropped from a number of feature film roles and a lucrative voice acting spot as Luann on TV's King of the Hill after tabloid rumors of her abusing substances spread through the industry. Murphy was painted as tardy and unfocused, barely able to hold her lines because of her bad drug habit. Murphy's husband Simon Monjack, meanwhile, claimed the rumors were started by former managers and agents to sabotage her career. With Murphy's career in jeopardy, the couple considered moving to New York City where the actress could begin anew. They also hoped to start a family. Brittany Murphy was also the breadwinner and caregiver to her mother, who struggled against multiple bouts of breast cancer, as well as her husband, who suffered heart problems. The actress continued to work in Los Angeles, starring in low-budget film roles merely for the paychecks. Yet, even as Murphy's stardom continued to fade, no one could have guessed the tragic manner in which her life would suddenly end. Anemia, combined drug intoxication, and pneumonia were listed as the official causes of death. The medicine mixture she had taken to relieve her problems had further damaged her body, which was already compromised by an iron deficiency and a bug she had contracted while filming in Puerto Rico. That is, until Simon Monjack, Brittany Murphy's spouse of 2 years, passed away 5 months after Brittany. More rumors surfaced, this time including potential foul play, and many questions remain regarding the terrible end of one of Hollywood's most promising young talents. Additionally, there were rumors that the actress's death was concealed because of a non-disclosure agreement between the property developers and that she had died from deadly mold developing inside her home. The poisonous mold argument was first dismissed as absurd by experts and even Murphy's mother, but in December 2011, Sharon Murphy came around and asserted that her daughter and son-in-law had actually died from toxic mold exposure. In addition, she sued the lawyers who had defended her in a prior legal battle with the real estate developers. Fans, meanwhile, have cast suspicions upon Sharon Murphy, especially after rumors spread that she and Murphy's husband had begun sharing the same bed after the actress died. In fact, Monjack was found in the bed he reportedly shared with Sharon Murphy on the day he died. But Sharon Murphy's reportedly close relationship with her daughter suggested to many that she would not hurt her, and investigators never deemed her a suspect in how Brittany Murphy died. Murphy's reticence when it came to looking out for her own health was, reportedly, a direct result of lobbying on the part of her husband, who had at least partially succeeded in convincing her that too many trips to the doctor would draw unwanted attention and add credence to industry gossip that Brittany Murphy was a difficult actress. The night before her death, Murphy allegedly approached both Simon and her mother, Sharon, who lived with the couple, complaining of weakness and shortness of breath, but it appears that neither Simon nor Sharon took Murphy's symptoms seriously until it was too late. Over time, Sharon, the mother of Brittany Murphy, became increasingly convinced that her daughter and Simon had not died from pneumonia as the coroner's reports had stated, but rather from an illness brought on by toxic mold in their 8,000 square foot home in the Hollywood Hills, which Murphy had bought from Britney Spears in 2003 following Spears' breakup with Justin Timberlake. When Sharon initially started attempting to sell the house in 2011, she started to consider the possibility that mold played a part in Murphy and Monjack's deaths. She sued her lawyers in that case, claiming they had acted improperly by failing to tell her that she was fully entitled to file a wrongful death lawsuit against the builders at the same time. After being awarded a settlement of $600,000 with them regarding the mold issue with the mansion, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office repeatedly ruled out toxic mold as a factor in the deaths of Brittany Murphy and Simon Monjack. But the fact remains that the home had enough mold in it to prompt a $600,000 settlement, and that the two people who spent the most time there also died there, inside its walls, within 5 months of each other. Brittany Murphy was just 18 when she got her big break playing a lovable loser in need of a makeover in Clueless. A slew of enviable roles and opportunities followed, including the role of a tough-as-nails ex-prostitute in Sin City and the chance to voice the part of Lou-Anne for Fox's animated series King of the Hill. Soon, Brittany was Hollywood's it girl. Eventually, the offers stopped arriving, much to Murphy's dismay, and the ones that did come were typically for unappealing projects, like B films, cheesy thrillers, or series much below her pay grade. Just 2 weeks before her death, Murphy received a call to reprise her role in the Warner Brothers animated picture Happy Feet 2, which thrilled her greatly. Simon Monjack, her spouse, even went so far as to sue the studio for wrongful death, claiming that Brittany Murphy's decline was caused by her dejection and hopelessness at losing the job. It's impossible to prove that going from Hollywood royalty to be movie afterthought played a direct role in Brittany Murphy's death. And it's worth noting here that she probably lost the part in Happy Feet 2 due to rumors about Monjack's drunken behavior on a previous film set. That said, she certainly isn't the only actress to grow depressed and even slip away after watching her star fall, and it's sad to say she probably won't be the last. Brittany Murphy's husband, Simon Monjack, blamed Hollywood for Brittany's demise, and it is true that Murphy struggled to find roles in her final years. Some friends, though, counter that Monjack, a British charmer in need of a visa, was the real problem. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Monjack was a borderline sociopath and a compulsive liar with a pill-popping problem who caught the impressionable Murphy in his web of lies and addictions, leaving her with an insatiable appetite for prescription drugs. The coroner found that when Brittany Murphy died, she had acetaminophen, hydrocodone, chlorpheniramine, and L-methamphetamine in her system. Many of these drugs are found in over-the-counter medications. The rest are available with a prescription. None of them are illegal, but that doesn't make them harmless, especially when taken together over a short amount of time while one's body is already compromised by illness. Monjack, who suffered from seizures and a number of other health problems, some seemingly real and some possibly imagined or faked, was known to doctor shop to get prescription medications, and he seems to have gotten Murphy into the game. At the time of her death, investigators found countless pill bottles in Brittany Murphy's house. The clearest and most detailed accounts the public has of Brittany Murphy's final moments are courtesy of her mother, Sharon, and her husband, Simon Monjack, both of whom were with Murphy as she grew increasingly ill and unresponsive. But Monjack's veracity had come under fire even before his wife's tragic death, leading many to refer to him as Conjack. Brittany Murphy met Monjack at a party, and the two married in 2007 after a whirlwind romance. After their wedding, they largely retreated from the rest of the world. The retreat might have been deliberate on Monjack's part. Prior to meeting Murphy, he had dated and deceived a number of women, leaving them bitter and debt-ridden. Of course, he didn't tell Murphy about these women or the dire financial straits he left them in. He did, however, tell Murphy that his mother was abusive. Phone records show he spoke to his mom nearly every day, which is a little odd for someone who recognizes they're being abused, but each case of abuse is difficult and unique, so it's hard to say on that one. Monjack sold himself as a successful screenwriter, but according to director George Hickenlooper, his only credit was as a contributing writer to Factory Girl. According to Us Weekly, Hickenlooper tried to warn Murphy away from Monjack, but she was already deeply in love. "I only hope to God that this creep wasn't instrumental in her sad demise," Hickenlooper said. Rumors of drug use plagued Brittany Murphy for the bulk of her acting career, and toward the end of her life, a number of friends and casual observers thought she might be suffering from anorexia as well. Murphy was always on the small side, and she was, in fact, self-conscious about her petite shape, according to those who knew her. At 5 feet 2 inches, she was painfully aware that she lacked the statuesque look of some of the most sought-after Hollywood actresses, so she often tried to disguise her short stature with tall shoes. Murphy, noticeably stouter in her breakout role as Ty Frazier in Clueless than in her later appearances when both her face and figure struck some as alarmingly gaunt, always denied that she had an eating disorder, insisting that she was happy and healthy and living her best life. She even credited ballet with giving her limbs their thin, toned look. Others, though, said it was clear that Brittany Murphy skimped on food in favor of coffee, prescription drugs, and plastic surgery. Not exactly the breakfast of champions, if so more the meal of a starlet trying desperately to maintain her spot in the firmament. Brittany Murphy's father, Angelo Bertolotti, was convinced that his daughter and Simon Monjack might have been targeted by the Department of Homeland Security. Murphy was estranged from her father, who died at 92 in 2018, for much of her adult life. After she died, though, Bertolotti was suddenly all over the news, speculating that his daughter and son-in-law might have been poisoned by government agents. This was supposedly because Murphy had sided with a whistleblower-turned-Angelina Jolie stunt double named Julia Davis, who voiced concern about improperly processed applications. In a filing with the National Whistleblower Center, Davis complained that she and her supporters were subjected to all manner of intrusive and illegal government surveillance, including being followed by Black Hawk helicopters. Bertolotti had been sure since the beginning that his daughter's death was a result of foul play, and he went so far as to have a toxicology test done on Murphy's hair. The results were mixed, but one showed the presence of at least 10 different heavy metals, suggesting that perhaps Murphy had ingested rat poison. The metals might also have a much more benign explanation. Brittany Murphy often dyed her hair. Brittany's mother strongly disputed basically all of this. In 2010, Brittany Murphy was all set to star in The Caller, a supernatural horror flick about a woman getting a series of disturbing phone calls from someone who claims to be from the past. But depending on whose story you want to believe, Murphy either left the film because she was put off by its horror elements or was replaced by Rochelle Lefevre because A. Lefevre's star was on the rise and Murphy's was on the decline, and B. Simon Monjack was repeatedly drunk and disorderly on set. Either way, Murphy and Monjack decided to stay in San Juan for a bit, relaxing and trying to put the setback behind them. On the flight home, though, Monjack grew gravely ill and had to be hospitalized. He soon rallied while Murphy grew steadily weaker. Both Murphy and Monjack had most likely contracted Staphylococcus aureus in San Juan, and it was that bug that went on to cause the pneumonia that ultimately killed them both. Why, though, did Brittany Murphy die within weeks of contracting the virus, whereas Monjack, plagued with seizures, asthma, and even a heart attack, lasted several more months? We might never know. Brittany Murphy was found to have a number of prescription drugs in her system when she died. It was also discovered that she had traces of metal in her hair, which her father took as proof that murderous government agents had killed his daughter in revenge for her speaking out against them. Another, perhaps more realistic but just as creepy explanation could be that the many medications she took leading up to her death were tainted with extraneous chemicals. The only reason the notion makes sense is that Simon Monjack, Murphy's husband, was a well-known doctor shopper. In order to get more and more prescriptions for what many believe to be his made-up diseases, he used aliases. Murphy may therefore have been effectively slain by her husband's vices. However, Dr. Michael Baden, a forensic pathologist, has proposed an alternative theory. Perhaps the hair samples used in the tests were tainted by time or packaging, two rather innocuous factors. Finding the heavy metals may be an artifact if the hair was removed during the autopsy and stored in the coroner's office for 4 years. He told Page 6, adding that the results are interesting but do not demonstrate criminality or cause of death. Brittany's career had undoubtedly tanked in the years leading up to her death. Her husband even went so far as to suggest she had grown suicidal because the roles she was being offered were so terrible and not worth her time and talents. Her final hours spent gasping for breath in the peach bathroom she loved hint at a woman on the brink. But many reports suggest that Murphy, regardless of the professional setbacks she suffered in her mid to late 30s, had things to look forward to. Namely, she hoped to move to New York to pursue more live theater opportunities. She also wanted to someday become a mother. Monjack's suggestion that Murphy had considered ending her life should probably be taken with a considerable grain of salt, given his reputation as an inveterate liar and cheat. Or to be more charitable, it's possible his claim arose out of a desire to defend Murphy against a fickle industry that had chewed her up and spit her out. A discussion of Brittany Murphy's will might, at first glance, seem tangential to the circumstances surrounding her death, but it's possible that a decision Murphy made at the end of her life could shed some light on what she was thinking and feeling as her health failed. Murphy, who claimed to adore her husband, Simon Monjack, left him out of her will, making her mother, Sharon, her sole beneficiary. This omission has led some to speculate that Murphy sensed her husband was having a negative impact on her life and finances. Indeed, when they first got together, Murphy was worth millions, whereas Monjack had been evicted from his house by his mortgage company. According to Monjack, Murphy asked to be left out of the will. He didn't want anybody to believe he married his beloved Brittany for her money, but perhaps he wasn't the most reliable source after all. As an unnamed ex-girlfriend informed a gossip magazine that Monjack had previously claimed to be the owner of Air Jamaica, to have had an affair with Damien Hirst, and to have killed at least one guy. There's no denying that Brittany Murphy and her mother had a close relationship, so it's possible that her decision to give everything to Sharon was motivated by pure, filial love. Brittany Murphy's death, though sudden, appeared to be the culmination of her deteriorating mental and physical health. Yet the story of how Brittany Murphy died remains among the most shocking in Hollywood's recent history, and it continues to inspire the industry. Indeed, it recently became the subject of a 2020 documentary titled The Missing Pieces: Brittany Murphy, which was aired on the Discovery Channel. For more celebrity videos, remember to like and subscribe if you liked today's video.
It was just so incredible. It was one of the best scripts I've ever had the opportunity to read. It was very intricately detailed in the book, how the set decorators and designers and construction worker and Jim had created it. It was created to look exactly how I had envisioned it to look.
That is f***ed up, Daisy.
It's always great working with incredible actors. To look into Honest Eyes, it was interesting to learn from them, to see their different processes of how they go about doing what they do. It's about the human psyche. I mean, a lot of it, and that's a subject that I think every human being can relate to. You know, I think it's a human